everyone. Obviously, I'll just let everybody funnel in and get in. But for those who are already here, in case you haven't seen it yet, we do have this challenge to win a brand new Book Creator t-shirt. That's what it looks like on the screen. And if you scan this QR code, it's really simple. It's complete 3 easy missions, get your shirt. And they are very fun. It's things like posting food, posting social. So it's designed for people at ISTE and virtual. Everyone can get behind it. But I will give people another 2, 3 minutes to funnel in just to see who's attending, and then we'll get going from there. Yeah, well, I'm going to stop sharing this and pass over to the real presenters of this session. I imagine more people will funnel in as we get started, but I will pass over to Madeline and Joseph to take it away today.
Great, thank you. Thank you, April slash David. It's nice to see you here today. I, so our presentation today, we're happy to be here during ISTE or kind of not at ISTE, but our presentation is called Pre-Service to In-Service Book Creator for Engaged Learning. And Joe and I have been using Book Creator for some time, and we were excited to be asked to present our work today. So on the cover here, you see we have the QR code, which we love about Book Creator is that it automatically creates that QR code for you to share your books anywhere. So feel free to scan that code so you can have access to our book. But I believe that everyone also probably received an email with all the books that are part of this Community Learning Week. So I am Madeline Craig. I am Associate Professor at Molloy University. It's in New York. I'm also the Technology Integration Coordinator, so I support our faculty and our students in incorporating technology into their lessons. So I teach at the undergrad and grad level in this teacher preparatory program. I have a real interest in using instructional technology, both K-12 and in higher ed. I've been fascinating recently with Gen AI, and I have a lot of credentials in technology use, like I said, throughout K through 20. And so I'm happy to be here today with my co-host, Joe Mando.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming up today. My name is Joseph Mando. I am a special education teacher in New York in a 10 through 12 building. In my district, we have about 4,500 students through the 7 through 12 level. I really have loved to integrate technology, and Dr. Craig really inspired me to really continue that in my classroom to really keep students engaged. Um, I co-advise Key Club, a community service-based club for my school. I coach the boys and girls tennis team, and I love to travel.
Thanks, Joe. So we are your engagement masters. I've got a theme going on here. So Joe was my student. Now he's a master, no longer a student. But I still work with pre-service teachers who are becoming want to become teachers. So teacher I am becoming. And so I'll start off half of our presentation by talking about how I'm using Book Creator with pre-service teachers. And then Joe will chime in the second half to talk about how he's using it in a classroom. So you get a little bit of both pre-service and in-service here. So some of the ways that I've been using Book Creator with my pre-service teachers, the first one is that I have them do the certified book author program, which I find is really helpful for them to quickly get a good scope on what Book Creator is and what it can do for them in their future classrooms. So the certified book author program is like 2 hours of videos and a quiz. They get a certificate and a badge. And I really feel like in those 2 hours, they get a good sense of how to create books, all different types of books and ideas for creating those books by doing the certified book author program. So that's something that we offer to all our pre-service teachers as a workshop credit, so that this way they get to learn an educational technology that prepares them for the workplace, for their classroom in the future. So that's one way I use it. I've also been with myself and two colleagues, Dr. Eckert and Dr. Patterson, we've been using it for project-based learning, and specifically in their literacy classes. So what happens is that they group their students into, they take their literacy class, and they put their students into groups. And throughout the semester, they're working on a project where they're creating a book with activities related to literacy that they will be able to use in their future classrooms. So each one of these books are things like, decoding and syllable types and reading comprehension and things like that. And so the students work in groups to create these books with lots of different engaging hands-on activities. And then they have this book that they can use when they get into the classroom if they have a struggling reader that needs some extra support with, say, reading comprehension. So it's a great way for them to be using Book Creator and having these books that are published and that they have kind of forever. Also, I've used Book Creator in our summer camp. So we hold a summer camp for future teachers. So they're high schoolers who want to be teachers. I started this last summer with our camp. And so throughout the week of camp, the campers, I teach them Book Creator, and they use Book Creator to journal what they've learned throughout the 4 days of the program. So this was a really great experience because it was a way for them at the end of the week to present what they've learned and really kind of reflect on 4 days of, nonstop activities. And we'll be doing this again, actually, the third week in July for a second year. So it's also been another great way to use it with almost pre-service teachers. And then lastly, how I've used Book Creator is in my educational technology class. I have my students create a book about a technology and then share it with one another. And so they choose any type of educational technology tool that they're most interested in. Some of them pick one that they've used for a while in, as a TA, or that they've seen used, like Kahoot or other tools like that. And then they create a detailed book where they have to show and teach others how to use this tool. But I think an important part of this is that they have to do research on the tool to understand how it's been researched in the past to show results, how it actually engages students, or how it leads to better learning outcomes and that kind of thing. So let me just show you an example of that. This is one student who created a book about Padlet. Now, I know Padlet has had a lot of updates lately, so this work may be a little dated, but you can see that this student first took the author certification, so they knew how to use all the features. And then you can see they did a nice job here on creating a table of contents, describing themselves as an author, describing the tool itself, having a quote in there, giving some links to how potentially they could use this in their future classroom. And then what I feel like is the most important part is that they have to do research on the tool to see if there is any research studies where someone has verified that the tool actually leads to better student outcomes or engagement or that kind of thing. So then they summarize the work that they've done in their class. And then, of course, to me, the most powerful part is that then they will share it out with all of the other students in the class so that they all can learn and pick up a new tool and understand the research behind some of these educational technology tools that they just kind of take for granted. And sometimes people use tools haphazardly without doing any kind of research or support on them. So you have a copy of this book. So, feel free to take a look at this Padlet one. And then this example here is from a student in my summer camp who created their Malloy trip. But I don't want to take up too much time. I know we only have 30 minutes. So I'd like to now pass it over to Joe Mando, who's going to share not pre-service, but moving now to in-service, where he is a teacher and using Book Creator with his students.
So thank you for that, Dr. Craig. So now we're going to transition to the real classroom experience. So I teach in a 10th, 11th, and 12th grade building, self-contained, where I could have up to 15 students, myself, and a teacher assistant within the classroom. And this was the second year I taught physical science, and I really wanted to see how I could really engage my students more with natural disasters because they really thoroughly enjoyed learning about it, but I want to enhance the experience. And what better tool to use than use Book Creator? So within our classroom, natural disasters encompasses around 2.5 months um, of projects, lab investigations, documentaries, discussions, and just connecting it to everyday life. So our question for our students that we had was, how do volcanoes impact communities and what can we learn from their history to prepare for future natural disasters? So their assessment for this was the Book Creator, and they had to create a public service announcement flyer on Canva that they integrated on their book. And we had a graphic organizer that they were able to utilize. And our library media specialist actually found this great tool called Sooth. So I would recommend using Sooth for research because there's so much that you can utilize with your students. You're able to adapt the reading level, which is super important for my students, just because a lot of them were not reading on the 10th grade level or 11th grade level, that they felt more comfortable adapting it to their comfort zone. And it really is a great resource because you're able to see how much information you're provided in such a short amount of time. So you have to gauge those questions when you do your search engine. So Sooth is the website that my library media specialist has implemented, and it really is a great tool. My students actually prefer that over just going on Google and just searching and copying and pasting because now they're actually doing active research. So Dr. Craig, you can go to the next slide, please, and thank you. So here's just a timeline. I think it's important to see from start to finish how this project actually came about. So Dr. Craig was always that innovative professor at Malloy University. When I was there as Malloy College with her, but we really dived into utilizing different technology tools. So when I first started, we actually, within my district, I work at Valley Stream Central High School District, which is in Nassau County on Long Island in New York. We have a model schools trainer, and I said, all right, I want to enhance this project. It was a little lackluster, and I really want to engage my students. So she said, all right, what do you want to do? I said, I want to incorporate technology. And she's like, let's use Book Creator. Let's really allow our students to learn a tool. So she came into my classroom for 2 days and she taught my students how to use Book Creator because they need to learn how to use the tool prior to actually developing the project. And they made a project about themselves and then they learned the tool. And then we started doing our research using Sooth, and they were able to select their own volcano because I think student choice is really important. I don't like to assign students their topics. I want them to be engaged and interested in their topic versus being you're told that you're doing something that you don't like to do. They were able to work in groups or they were able to work by themselves. Some of my students prefer to work by themselves, which is perfectly okay. Um, I'm always a firm believer on allowing students to do what they're comfortable with and sometimes stepping outside of their boundaries. So presenting was actually a challenge for my students, but I want to prepare them for post-secondary to utilize goals on their IEPs for transitions because they're going to be graduating sooner than later and they need to learn how to interact with people, get feedback. So we really did a lot with this project. So they presented their project. When they were not presenting, I always have a worksheet ready for them to take notes on. So they always have something to learn and take away and always ask a question after one of their peers presented. And the last part was feedback. So after all of this big project that took 3 weeks long, they filled out a Microsoft form because my school is in Office 365. We use Microsoft Teams, and they provided feedback for me. Which tool did they like, Book Creator or Canva? And they did say that Book Creator was much more user friendly. It was easy to use, and they thoroughly enjoyed it. And they actually started using it for their other classes. I had this one student make a whole book on the moon phases and astrology. She wanted to do a whole thing like, what is your mood and what like phase of the moon would you be? So she really enjoyed it, and she like shows me all the time now, and she shares me all of her books. Um, so the next slide is just going to be talking about what is Book Creator. So Book Creator really has so many different tools, and I think the best tool that they just added was Read to Me. I think that was a great addition that Book Creator has really added because my students may struggle with reading fluency and they may feel embarrassed that they don't know how to pronounce a word. And I think this is a perfect opportunity now for my students um, to use this tool because maybe they want to listen to it first and then they can present after that. So it really engages the learner versus a traditional PowerPoint because you're able to add so much. You're able to install those different features of utilizing a 3D image, Google Maps if you want, maybe your Bitmoji. So there's so many different things that you can add into your book creator to bring it alive. And now you have this virtual book, or you can actually publish it and make a nice copy of it. So two student work examples. Mount St. Helen, the student really took a different approach to what I kind of laid out for them, and I was really impressed with her work. So going through the book, she kind of did what is a volcano. So a generalized video of it. She added a 3D image of volcano. So we enabled that feature within Book Creator, and that was really cool because students were able to actually get a nice visual of, say, Mount St. Helen or another volcano that they have selected. I asked them if they could provide a Google Maps. So we enabled Google Maps. Where is this actually located? So I wanted them to locate it on a map because we know geography is super important, knowing where things are in the world. Because the first day of school, I said, "Where is Long Island on a map of the United States?" And they had no idea where it was. So I like to enforce geography and knowing where you are. So she showed a little quick video of Mount St. Helen, and I really liked this slide that she did. I think questions that she had personally versus um, the graphic organizer that I had. So she was able to devise these questions that she had as she was going through her research, and then she just went about and just started answering them. So I'm okay with her presentation. I was actually really happy that she kind of spun it on a different end versus your traditional format of following everything that your teacher provides. I think it's so important to have that flexibility within the classroom. And then I think it's super important to always have your protocol. So, what are your options? How to stay safe? And then this was her public service announcement for a different natural disaster, but I just threw it in this book just so that you can see. Um, this was a hurricane relief food drive. So it really kind of allowed them to showcase their skills in a different way versus say, a research paper or a PowerPoint. And they really took a liking to this. Students who don't normally like to present, they really were excited. They're like, when are we doing a book creator again? Or how are we going to implement something in our different class? So they would always come back and be like, Mr. Mando, we did it in social studies. We broke down, say, World War II, and we did the causes using a book creator. And everyone kind of now has this joint book where they can reference. And I think that's the most important, that you have this tool now that you can always have access to it versus it being eliminated. So the other example, this was another student, but you have access to it. So this was another natural disaster project that we did as well. And then the next slide is just the feedback. So I used Microsoft Form. So you could see, I asked them on a scale of 1 to 5, how easy was it to use? What did you like most about this tool? Because I want to know, did they actually enjoy using Book Creator? Because if things went the other way, maybe I would have to find a different tool to meet my students' needs. It's super easy. It's super friendly to use. There's so many great resources out there that Book Reader has available for you to have access. And I use it now for making presentations for my students and adding them so they have access to it where they can add information and take notes. Um, and I always think feedback is super important. And that was really it. So they really love this project, Book Creator. If you haven't used it, I really do recommend you to create your free trial and have access to what is there. And if your school district or your university is able to get that enhanced version of it, it really does promote amazing work that you can showcase, say, to parents, to school administrators, to your, say, department head, to your central office, to see like, wow, we're paying for this tool and it really has a meaningful work for our students, and we are seeing that change. So that was our project. If you have any questions, you could write them in the chat. We're more than happy to answer them. And that was our presentation, from pre-service to in-service Book Creator for Engaged Learning.
Yeah, and just to elaborate on what Joe was saying about the collaboration feature, I mean, that worked amazing when I used it for project-based learning. So they were collaborating on the same book, the small group of students. And then the idea that you can combine the books, I feel like is really helpful, because now we have books around different aspects of literacy and we can combine them into one comprehensive book about literacy. Or when I do it with the summer camp, one book for everyone who's part of the summer camp, and everyone can see each other's reflections and what they took from the week and that kind of thing. So the combined books is another great feature that has been added, and is really helpful. But any questions?
So I'll read out any questions from the chat, but I have a question myself as well, actually. So when you started using Book Creator in comparison to maybe other projects, did you find that students were seeing value in their work, or did you find they maybe put more things in? I guess, how did you see that pay off when you changed to or started using it?
So I think instantly you have to present it in a way that you're able to grab your students' attention. So I didn't want to say, oh, it's another project. Because when you use that word, they're like, oh, we're doing like something that's like boring. So I always try and like excite them about it. I'm like, we're going to learn a new tech tool that you can use in your everyday life. So you have to grab them in instantly, because if you don't grab them, your students are not going to be engaged, and you want them to have fun using the tool. So I think you have to have flexibility, because if I didn't give them, say, that day or two to learn each tool, and just if I dived right into it, I think it would have changed the experience. So I didn't have an end of the year exam for this course, so I had the flexibility to spend as much time and teach my students the actual tool. And I think that was the most beneficial thing, because once I showed them, they're like, Mr. Manda, look what I just added. Look what I just thrown in. So like, I enabled all the things so they could see all of the cool features that Book Creator actually had. And I think, again, you have to know your students, you have to know your population. I wanted them to have fun with it at first, because, yes, school, but they have to have fun in school sometimes too. They just can't be all academics. So for me personally, in my setting that I had, in my physical science self-contained setting with 11th graders, I knew I had to grab their attention because they're like, Mr. Mando, like they'll tell me to my face, like if they don't like something. So I really had to, because we know they're all honest in their adolescence, they will tell you how they feel, whether you like it or not. So I really just had to let them play with it and have fun. Like I think that's the most important. Like even when I was with Dr. Craig, like you have to just learn the tool for yourself, see what you like about it, and then you could take those things and like really like hone in on those skills that you like really like for me personally.
Yeah, and when I transition with the pre-service teachers, I really do find so much value in the certified author program because I feel like everybody likes to have like an outcome. So it's like, oh, you earn a certificate, you earn a badge, and it only takes 2 hours, but then they get to see like the full array of what it's capable of. Like a lot of them don't notice like the comics until they learn like the templates with the comics and they get excited about that. So I feel like having them do that 2 hours and then go in, click, 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 and understand like all the different capabilities within it. And it really is just fun to play. And for me, it's like a twofold because I want them to enjoy learning at the college level, but then I want them to be able to use this tool in the future with their students. And I think a lot of my students automatically think, oh, it's just elementary. And that's why I wanted to present today with Joe Mando because he's using it successfully at the high school level. So I think it really does extend all levels and isn't just like, oh, it's cutesy and it's just elementary. Joe's shown that, really good results at the secondary level. And me too, adults love it too.
Yeah, well, if there's any other questions, please do put them in the chat. I'm also just going to resend the book link if anyone wants to follow back and have a look again. So that will be in the chat now. And other than that, I want to say a huge thank you to both of you for joining us today. It was lovely to learn with you, and thank you indeed.
Thank
Thank
you
you for
so
the
much.
opportunity. Thanks.
Okay, I guess there's no other questions, so I'll stop the recording here, and I'm sure I'll see you both very soon in some other place.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.